paragraph in here, and it has to do with the value of the undervaluation of China's currency. The thought came to mind that that's probably not going to change here very fast, but is there precedent in dealing with Canada? We've had some of these issues with Canada on the lumber coming across the board, where there was adjustment for currencies from, they were 78 cents on the dollar. There's been some other issues with a foreign country, Canada, and the difference in the dollar between here and there, which is now kind of about equal. But I thought with the softwood lumber, I believe softwood lumber
years ago when we had that.
Yeah, and this is really not part of it, just kind of a throwaway paragraph in the sense it's interesting and informative, but is there parallels between the currency of years ago, the currency of Canada, and what we're looking at with China?
I really am not qualified to answer that. I can tell you that our Congressman Mike Mishu is going to be giving written testimony in front of the Ways and Means Committee, if I'm not mistaken, it's next week, on China's manipulation of their currency. And that all relates into this.
Okay, thank you.
I think there is, well, I mean, there's certainly parallels, that's for sure. I mean, Canada's been accused of manipulating currency for a long time.
We won some of those debates, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it mattered, but John?
You're focusing on coated paper, and I think, I don't know if you have the time, but there are many, many towns in this state that have been affected by foreign trade. We have people, the Oxford, Norway, South Paris area that commute to Rumford and Jay, that have been adversely affected. You take a look, foreign trade is like a great massive thing. It takes a long time for people to react to it. In the process of reacting, you take a look what's happened to the shoe industry. You take a look at the shoes manufacturers that used to be in Lewiston, that used to be in Freeport, that used to be in Lewiston. The shirt manufacturers in Waterville, woolen mill in Oxford, which is now gone. Shoe shops in Oxford and Norway and South Paris. I think you'd get a reception if you said this is sticking us right now in coated paper, but it's the same thing that's happened to you guys. And I know our Board of Selectmen are working people, and I think they'd be very receptive to what you're talking about. If you expand it to say, this is the focus right now, but look what's happened in the past.
And that's one of the reasons why we're expanding our little universe. I mean, when this first started out, we were really just looking at Rumford, Mexico, Dixfield, Skowhegan, Norwich Walk, and we've realized once you do a survey of where your membership resides, and then you start looking, well, if it's this many people in this town, this is how much money they're bringing into it, which we're going to get into here. You get a better feel for it. That's why we have targeted on our list, there's a lot of mill towns there, and what we have sent out also asks for them to do the same thing with their surrounding towns. And the thing is, right now there's maybe 8 of us working on this, and the problem that we're finding, even with the small numbers that we're doing, towns sure like to have their meetings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we find ourselves double booked quite an awful lot, and it's always at the same time, so we're splitting up, and I mean, we're heading every which way trying to get this done. And the hard part is that you give the presentation 2 to 3 times before you actually talk to the selectmen. I mean, you'll give it to the town manager so that you can get it on the agenda. Sometimes you have to go give it to a selectman so that they'll sponsor it so it's on the agenda. So there's a lot of legwork in finding out what each town requires for you to do. I was looking to start in my area where I live, in the Bucksport, Verona, even though I live across the river in Waldo County. But we have been going out and talking to any group that would listen to us. We've gone to county-wide meetings and brought our letters with us and walked out of there. If there was 25 people I think the least that we've done is 22 letters out of the group, that they understand what we're talking about. So
I don't
we're
think
trying to,
people in the state understand the magnitude of what's happened as a result of foreign trade over the last 30 years. If you take a look at what Maine was 30 years ago, as far as manufacturing and what it is today, and the cause of that diminution, it's primarily from foreign trade.
and I know firsthand because I used to be in the clothing business, and I watched that industry just get decimated by imports and unfair trade. And I know at the same time it was the old Hathaway shirt company. It's right during that era when all that business went overseas.
Right.
And that was, and followed the shoe industry.
Well, they took the machines, they took the last for American shoes are different than they are from Southeast Asia shoes. And so what they do, they came here and bought the lasts,
And it just, I mean,
plus the machines.
industry after industry after industry, we keep saying. Now, we've been successful since we have been successful with these types of cases in the rubber industry. We filed a case on tires coming in. We filed a case on what is called, and please forgive me if I mess this up, oil country tubular goods, which is the steel piping that is used to extract natural gas and oil from the ground. China had been producing it, stockpiling it in this country, and then put it on the market and was wiping out the industry here at home. We got a tariff put on that, and I was informed about 3 weeks ago that one of the manufacturers here in the US is building a new facility and is looking to hire 1,000 people out in the Midwest. That it has made a difference. And that's what we just give us that shot of that level playing field, and I know how good we'll do.
I wanted to get to the level playing field, because what I want to understand are the economics. Once you take away the financial subsidies for what you define as the subsidies, then you have brand new equipment and cheap labor, which does not come into the calculation, as I understand it, for an unfair playing field. So once the unfair playing field is taken away and you win the case, how do you compete?
Well, it all depends on how you level the playing field, I look at. I mean, to me, I go back to the Olympics that were held in China. And we're gonna have to appeal to people. If anybody remembers the Olympics 3 weeks before the opening ceremony, people were walking around with surgical masks on because the air was so bad. They don't have the same environmental protection. They don't have the same human rights protections that we have here. They don't have the same safety qualifications. When does the point come that you say, you know, unless you're not destroying the environment, unless you're not stripping the rainforest, we're not gonna buy your product.
Well, is that a regulatory issue? I mean, right now you're saying you appeal to purchasers, and I actually agree with you, and I think we should keep our manufacturing base because I think it's very important for this country and this state to have it. But I'm just wondering what it takes to do that in terms of the unfair, what you're describing really is a continuation of the unfair playing field.
Well, right now, when we're talking subsidies, when a company, I mean, I know every company here in the United States, we would love to get low interest or no interest loans that are forgiven over time that you never have to pay back, or electricity so cheap because it's a state-run agency that's providing it. Or in China, Chinese government owns the chemical companies that supply the chemicals for the paper industry. I mean, that's the part that we really don't have much control over. But the awareness and the manipulation of their currency is the big part because they're able to import it so cheaply. If we can get a handle on that, that will, and the tariffs actually on their subsidies, which we can control, will bring us up to where they at least cannot sell it cheaper than what we can produce it for.
That's what I was asking.
I mean, that's the biggest thing right